switch to the other side of the Atlantic, specifically to Denmark, where my friend Andreas Aen is standing by and ready to give his presentation. Andreas, let me see here. I think you should be unmuted. We can see you.
Yeah, you can hear me now, I think.
Wonderful. So I'll just let you take it away and go from there.
Okay, perfectly. I just have to share my screen. 2 seconds. It should be done here. You see this? Oh, you're muted. Okay. That's perfect. I'll take it from here. Okay, so first of all, thanks for inviting me. My name is Andreas. As you said, I'm originally I am from Denmark and living in Denmark. I think my English is quite understandable, but yeah, excuse me in advance if there's anything you can't understand. Yes, okay. So yeah, as Jonathan said before, here's a legal disclaimer. I won't read it here, but we own stock in companies mentioned here, and this is not, investment advice. It is his own opinion. So yeah, please read this before looking at our stuff. Yeah, just briefly about Symmetry Invest. So we are a Danish-based long-short fund. Our main focus is on the small and mid-cap space. We mostly target European companies and to some extent the US companies also. We were founded back in 2013 by myself as a former accountant, and today we are 2 full-time employees. We currently manage around $50 million and have been growing our assets really quite steadily over time since inception. We have, I would say, really strong results since inception. You can see them here, outpacing the Euro Stock 600 really at quite a big margin in 7 out of 8 years. And as of today, our fund is ranked as the 3rd, best hedge fund in Scandinavia in the database called Hedge Nordic, where basically most of the Scandinavian hedge fund reports their results to. So this is quite a journey so far, and yeah, definitely hope it could continue. So Symmetry Invest, just briefly about how we approach investing. We do both long and short investments. When I heard about this conference, I actually planned to do like a short thesis. As you can see, our short alpha here accumulated since inception. So the first 2 years we basically just did index short. So yeah, our results matched the market. But since early 15, we started shorting individual names and to make alpha on that side, and accumulated has been a good journey so far for us. And since inception we have paid money on both sides of the market and created alpha on both sides. We're fundamental driven, as we're still a small fund, we can focus on small niches of the market that is really uncovered. The idea that I would present to you now is there's only one research firm covering it, and it's a paid research firm, so it's really brief research. So as I said, yeah, my best idea right now is a long, so I represent this. So I call it the cheapest stock in Scandinavia. So NORTHM is the name. It's basically a Danish mini-conglomerate. We started buying the name in early 2017 when there was a major event in this name. So one of the biggest segment that was competing quite aggressively with another player, and that player basically left the market. So if co-distribution was left alone with the whole market, and that changed the whole I would say the investment narrative here. But at that time there was 4 segments where really the 3 of them was bad divisions, and then they have this one that just come out of a price war, and we thought was a good turnaround. And the company had quite awful corporate governance, I would say, at that time. And if you fast forward to today, the situation has just changed dramatically. The corporate governance are better. Now they have 3 good divisions, and they have sold one of the divisions. So I think the investment is even better now. So about NORTHM, as I said, over the last 3 years, they have improved their results in 3 out of the 4 divisions, and the only division they have not improved results in, where they couldn't get it better, they sold it at a profit. So the 3 remaining businesses is, good now. They have good market leading positions in their respective niche here in Denmark, and I think another important point is that the corporate governance has improved considerably over the last year. So both Symmetry Invest and some other Danish fund has, really worked, I will not say as activists, but really as like constructivists behind the scenes with, the new management team, the new chairman, to work with him to improve corporate governance. And we think there has been quite remarkable success in this point over the last 3 years. And today the company pays out 4 Danish crowns in dividends, so it's like 8% yield. And if I include the 2 buybacks, the total shareholder distribution is more than 10% per year. And really, if you look at price to earnings perspective, this is why we think this is the cheapest stock in Scandinavia. The market cap is 900 million Danish, and the net cash is 500. So based on net operating profit after tax, we think the stock is trading at 2.3 times earnings. So that gives you a picture about how cheap we think this is. So I would just go through the different segments, so to give a brief overview of North Media. So the biggest segment is FK Distribution. FK Distribution is the market-leading distributor of digital and commercial leaflets in Denmark. So before 2017, FK Distribution was competing quite aggressively with a company called PostNord. So PostNord is the state-owned letter business, and that business was taking the state-subsidized letter business and using this to fund the losses in the leaflet business that competed with FK Distribution. So it was quite tough for them, to compete with a state-subsidized competitor. But in early 2017, that changed after PostNord pulled out of the market and basically left FK Distribution as the only remaining player here. So they got a de facto monopoly here. And since then, FK Distribution have gained most of the market. They have raised prices back to where they were before the price war started, and achieved a lot of scale efficiency. So just to mention, the EBIT margin has gone from 5% to now more than 20% in those 3 years. As going forward, we basically see this as a stable cash cow now. So the leaflet business is declining, a few basis points in volume each year, but they can more than offset this by a few percentage point of price increases. And you can see the chart. There is some seasonality in the revenue, but as you can see the purple line, it's growing quite steadily at a low rate. The biggest risk here is basically on a political scale, because politicians they really don't like this kind of business, because a lot of those leaflets, they go into the mailbox, and a lot of people just throw them into the garbage, and it's not good for the environment and stuff like that. But really, the company operates in the EU, so there's a lot of strict rules what the government, the politicians can do about this, and there is really not a lot of stuff they can do to force them to change the way they operate here. Okay. And the next business they own is a business called North Media Online, and this is basically the crown jewel now. For over 20 years, the online business was loss-making, and they lost around 200 million Danish over 20 years here. But this year and last year, it became profitable. And I think historically they just did too many things at the same time. But since Mads Dahl became chairman 3 years ago, he basically took the the Jack Welch approach here to say, okay, we need to focus on the segments where we're the market leader, where we're the best. So he cut all the investments in unprofitable stakes and focused everything on the rental business. So where's online today? North Media Online is the market leader, at a platform where they connect the tenants with the landlords. So basically, if you're a tenant, you want to go to the platform where all the rental seekers, where all the apartments are. And if you're a landlord, you want to go to the platform where all the tenants are. So there's a huge network effect here, and online is the market leader in Denmark and also growing quite significantly in Sweden now. So this is quite a fast-growing segment. It's profitable. I think they can earn around 20 million Danish this year, and there is a quite reasonable to expect them to grow that to 40 in a few years. They have a small job segment that's still unprofitable, but it's really not important anymore. And I think the chairman will also close that one down at some point. I would say there is actually a little niche here from the COVID outbreak. North Media Online is actually benefiting a lot in recent months from the COVID outbreak, and this has to do with a lot of apartments in Copenhagen and the other big cities in Denmark have been used by Airbnb. And a lot of those, tourism, they can't go into Denmark now to those Airbnb apartments. So a lot of the apartment owners are now putting their apartment up for rental on the media properties instead of using Airbnb. So from my industry sources tells me that the business is booming now in April and May because of this. So we think this is quite a good business that is really valuable, and you can see from the chart there that is growing a lot now. So one of the other businesses is a company called Bekey. We actually looked at Bekey for quite some years and thought it was really a black hole. We didn't understand the investment narrative here. But I think over the last year or so, stuff have happened to, it has been restructured a little bit, and they've just found really a sweet spot in the market now. So what Bekey does is, they install a door lock in apartment buildings, and delivery firms can then use a key card, and that key card is really on the iPhone to get access to the building and deliver the goods. And think about this is really important because online delivery is just booming at these days. And when delivery firms cannot get access to the building, they have to take the goods back to the the central warehouse and redistribute it another day. So this will save a lot of cost for distribution firms to get access to the customers, and it is also good for customer satisfaction when you get the goods the day you want them. So we think there could be a big advantage here. And currently Bekey is more than 50% of the apartments in Copenhagen, and they have a target to get to more than 70% this year. And you can think about it, how many apartment buildings, 1, 2, or 3, or 4 door locks, nobody wants. So they have basically, cornered the market here and, be the by far market leader. And I think with online delivery just booming, I think the demand should be booming for Bekey, for the, foreseeable future also. And to think about the revenue model here, one have to, I think about it as kind of a tool booth, Bekey are, installing the lock in the doors, so they're paying for the system itself, the installer upfront, and then they basically receive a fee or a royalty every time the door is opened with the key card. So that's why I kind of describe it as a tool booth where you install this, and every time the door is locked up by the delivery guy, you receive like 0.1 Danish kroner or something like that, and just collect that for the every time the door is opened. So upfront the business looks bad because of losses, but I think when the market sees the potential here for delivery booming and the market position in Copenhagen, I think this could be really valuable. Actually, the last segment is a stock portfolio. So North Media has quite a big portfolio of big liquid stocks, and you guys can see the portfolio down here. It's mostly big Nasdaq stocks and big C20 in Copenhagen stocks. So big liquid firms, and their investment portfolio has done really well over the last 10 years. They have beaten the market a lot. The reason for them to hold a lot of the stocks is really historical. They didn't want to be dependent on the banks anymore after the financial crisis. And also they had this long price war with the state-owned PostNord that they needed a capital buffer at that time. But I would say at this point in time, the management and definitely the new chairman understands that they cannot keep accumulating, more liquid assets and stocks. So I think, and this is something we have been pushing them for some time, that they will, distribute more and more of this excess cash now. And as I mentioned before, the total distribution to shareholders is now more than 10% of the market cap. So basically, they are doing a lot already. Okay, so my last 2 slides is just about valuation. Here is how we looked at this stock when we started buying it back in 2017. The stock at this time was around 25, 30 Danish kroner. We thought about valuation, around 63 or slightly more than 100% upside when we saw the stock. But the interesting thing here is, if you look at the valuation part, you can see FK distribution. So the leaflet business was, really the whole valuation here, and all the other segments we applied a negative valuation on because they were burning cash and we didn't really see a future here. So you had a lot of upside, but you also have the big downside because you were dependent on only one business segment. And the leaflet business, it is fair to give it a quite low multiple because it's not a growing business here, it's more like a cash cow business. But I would say the more interesting thing is, we fast forward to today. This is our valuation today. As you can see now, there's really FK distribution is worth a little more because the EBIT has gone up. But the interesting point is all the other segments that we think are valuable. The North Media Visa or the newspaper business has been sold at a profit, so they are not here anymore. The online business has really had an inflection point, so it's now growing it's really profitable. So we think it's worth putting a high multiple on that kind of business. And Bekey, it will still be loss making because they install all those door locks up front, but we think at least it's worth zero, because there is a lot of value proposition and a big opportunity long term here, and we think there could be a lot of upside here. And then there is some hidden assets also in North Media. They own 50% of a company called Lead Supply, and they recently won in Denmark what is called Børsen Gazelle. That is really one of the fastest growing companies in Denmark. I think over the last 3 years they were growing like 3,000% or something like that. They distribute loans online through a leading platform, and I think it's profitable and growing fast. So I think there could be some hidden value there. And they also own a headquarter building where they only monetize around 5% of basically the space there. They only have it for sentimental reason. They have the majority shareholder founded this company and owned this building for sentimental reasons. But I think over time they could monetize this building and have more than 100 million additional upside for the real estate. So I think the investment narratives have basically changed over the last few years. The downside is a lot lower because all business segments are profitable, and the upside is really good here, and there are some positive things with in both two of the business segments with the COVID-19 situation. So yeah, I think it's a good place. So yes, I was quite weak here, so we have some time for questions both from you and from the viewers.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andreas. Very interesting presentation. Sounds like as much a turnaround candidate as anything else here, with the fact that they got rid of, so they're completely out of the old school newspaper business, the print business.
Yeah, and it was quite funny because they sold it just 1 month ago, and going into this year they had a plan about making it as a turnaround, that the business, but I never thought that would happen. They didn't have the scale, so I was applying negative valuation, and then suddenly there was an RNS, how is it in English, a filing to the stock exchange taking in that they have sold this business at a profit. So I was like, wow, okay, not only did I have to remove the negative discount, I actually could apply some additional cash from the profit. So that was really well timing.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. And this trades only in Copenhagen. There's no ADR or even BDR or anything. Right?
No, it's only trading in Copenhagen, but it's trading on the main listing there. So I think most interactive brokers,
sure,
bigger places you can buy it. And I would say from this kind, the distribution business, the funny stuff is it's actually quite easy for me to see how it's going, because each week I get the leaflets in my mailbox, so I can just take them out, put them on the weight, and calculate how much weight they have and how much they earn. So I can have a leading indicator there if something will go wrong before they report it. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, and that part, I mean, that is still a very big part of the business, the leaflets, right? And how sustainable is that? I mean, it sounds like how awful, you touched on it, just like environmentally, it sounds like a horrible, I mean, I guess you can recycle paper, and I know Denmark has a very aggressive recycling program, but.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the most interesting story about, actually in Denmark, it is the only country where you can have you can decide what kind of leaflets you want. So in Denmark, we have every household are getting the leaflets if they don't want them. If they don't, the default rate is yes, but they can say, we don't want them. So already 50% of the households in Denmark has turned that they don't want the leaflets, so they don't get them. But the interesting point here is that part was growing a lot from 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, but over the last 3 years that has stalled. So 50% of the households do still want those leaflets. So they just, and the other side is you can actually say, I don't want all leaflets, but I want some of them. So you can go online and choose what kind of leaflets you want. And so the one thing the government want is the one to turn the default rate from yes to no. So basically, instead of consumers have to say, no, I don't want them, they have to go online and say, yes, I want them. But there is some EU law that prohibits this, because this is basically, bad for smaller new players in the market. It will imagine if you go to Facebook and say, oh, I only want those 10 apps, and you cannot display any other ads to me. That's only good for the big companies you already know, but it's really bad for smaller companies. And also, ethical distribution, they are the largest employer of, youth people in Denmark. They have 10,000 youth employers to distribute this. So they, most of young people, this is the first, job they get. So they actually play a quite important role in the society.
Mm. Finally, I don't think you touched much on the balance sheet. Is this company have a lot of debt or any debt?
They have basically zero debt. They have a small amount of property debt, and as you can say, they have a net cash valuation of more than 50% of the market cap. And this is based in 100 million cash and around 400 million in, you can see it here in liquid stocks like Amazon, Gemmap, Mastercard, whatever. And they have been making a lot of money now. So basically in the first quarter of this year they lost 50 million on the stock portfolio because of the COVID crisis. But as of today they are up more than 50 for the year. So the second quarter we show more than 100 million profit from this.
Wow, very cool. I mean, this is a great idea. If you're looking for small cap, niche type of things. How scalable is this Bekey thing or whatever it's called? Bekey.
The Bekey.
Yeah.
I think it's the one thing that scales is first you have to get it on most apartment buildings. So they're really successful in Denmark so far because they are close to 60% in Copenhagen now. But then the other part is you have to sign up the distribution firms. So like GLS, it's all the companies that basically distribute goods. It could be consumer goods, it could be online goods, but it could also be groceries that deliver online. So they have to sign up all those companies and then deliver them a key card. And then when they use that, they receive the benefit. So it takes time to get the apartment buildings up and then to sign and there's a little bit, the companies only want to sign up when most of the apartments are done. But the apartments only want to sign up when a lot of the companies are on it. So there's kind of a the egg and the chicken perspective there. But now they are so big that I think they will come, and you can see from the figures it is starting to kind of come out. I think.
Is that the type of thing that could potentially be expanded elsewhere in Scandinavia or?
They are actually doing it in both Sweden and Norway at the moment, and there's not a lot of competitors. So Amazon has something like this themselves. Basically, so they can deliver the goods online. But Amazon is not in Denmark yet, and only recently come to Sweden, I think, and not in Norway. So it's not an immediate threat. And in Denmark, as I said, you don't want 3 or 4 of this on your door.
All right. Finally, last question. Since I happen to have you here, how has the COVID thing been in Denmark?
I think in Europe, we was actually one of the first countries to go in lockdown because a lot of Danish are making ski trips to Italy. So there were some Danish that took the COVID back from Italy, but our government reacted really quickly. Took the full lockdown. So yeah, as a fund manager, I had to stay home with 3 kids and manage my portfolio. So at the home office, so it was quite a journey. But yeah, I think I managed it all right. And now it's really back to normal. Restaurants are open. I'm back in the office. The kids are back in kindergarten, and I'll go and I could go to summer vacation in Norway and Germany, and yeah, it's
nice.
We're back to normal mostly.
So it sounds like you followed more the German model rather than the Swedish one when it comes to the shutdown.
Yeah. Sweden is a little bit of an outlier here in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, and nice to hear that you're back at work. We here in New York are not yet.
No.
But okay, well, that was wonderful. Thank you, Andreas, for that. I did see. Oh, right. Somebody just asked you, are you are on social media?
Yeah. Sorry, can I answer here?
Well, no, you can.
No, I can answer it in phone. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, and I also on LinkedIn, and yeah, you can see my homepage also. I think maybe I have it on the first slide.
Hang on, what is it? Symmetry.
Yeah, you can see my homepage and my email there. My Twitter account is not here, but I will definitely.
What is it? At Symmetry? Because I know I've retweeted you.
Symmetry_invest, I think it's.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. So I'll put that out there. Yeah, definitely check them out. Very interesting stuff. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.